So if you didn't know, this is the Morning Wood NFL Sunday here, brought to you by Rumpier Sports.
What up, boys? We're back with the Golf War Show, the preeminent golf show on the entire internet.
Huge weekend of baseball coming up. We haven't really had a final week like this in a while where there's so many teams that are still alive.
High fly ball into right field. She is gone! Unbelievable! A home run for Gibson. Freeman hits the ball to right field. She is gone! Gibby beat Freddie!
They might have the best pass rush in football.
They were adamant about not having a slow start.
How many times have they disappointed us? So I'm having a lot less of this game.
The game is over. The New York Jets are the world champions. Mahomes swings it. It's there! Hardman! Jackpot! Kansas City! The Chiefs are back-to-back Super Bowl champions!
Welcome, everyone. We are picking winners here with Run Pure Sports. I am Statsational, filling in for JBC, who's heading out to Vegas for a little UFC action. Is our boy Third and Schlong. Bryce, what is up today? Did you enjoy that game last night?
Yeah, I did. I went to this concert, the Revivalists, last night, and they were awesome. They let out at 10:30. They were done playing, went straight to the bar, was able to catch the end of the game. Kind of a crazy ending. In this preseason pool that we do, like auction pool, I have the Niners as one of my teams because we really like them preseason. So
is it like a Calcutta?
It's a Calcutta style. You get paid on playoff wins or playoff advances. So if you get a playoff bye, that counts as a win. And then it progressively ramps up to the Super Bowl. It's kind of like a March Madness Calcutta, but with the NFL playoffs. So we have the Chiefs, Chiefs, Niners, Colts. So that's off to a pretty good start.
The Colts had to be pretty good. You got to get a pretty good price on the Colts, I would think.
Well, everyone in Indy was super down on the Colts. So we were able to get them super cheap. I think it's the cheapest they ever went in this auction. And we also ended up with the Titans because they were free. I just like attacking that division because, you have a decent chance at a playoff home game. Yeah.
Briefly, we should just kind of touch on Calcutta. I love them. I know we've participated in some together. We had some success in golf with these. I started getting
the Masters was sweet.
The Masters, yeah, we did. We had a great run there. Well, we have that. What was it, Patrick Reed, right?
Patrick Reed. Because
falling apart.
The way this Masters pool worked is they kind of grouped golfers together. They would sell the top 25, and then after that, kind of everyone was grouped. So we bought the live package of golfer. It was live and olds, I think is how I labeled it. Was because you got Sergio, you got Reed, you get all these guys who are decent at Augusta, and people aren't really seen on a weekly basis. So we got really good value on them. We almost bought the Brits too with Justin Rose. I don't think we were ever buying Rory. He went for some absurd sum. He went for as much as the pools of golfers. We were just kind of trying to slam in on the pools.
Yes. Yeah. There were a couple of them, obviously that went for big price. For those who don't know, Calcutta pool, they're fantastic. I think I don't know if they started at country clubs. Believe it or not, the first time I ever saw it was at my uncle owned the pool hall out way east on Long Island out in Stony Brook, by the college. And that was the first time I had seen a Calcutta because they were playing, of course, a pool tournament works in that format well, where all the participants in the pool tournament can either bet on themselves or bet against or bet on one of the other teams, and you're not betting more as buying another player. So it works great in golf, works great for the NCAA tournament. For your purposes here, you wind up buying a team, and then depending on what the payouts are going to be, you get paid. And what you're saying here for the NFL, you're going to get paid at each round you advance in the playoffs. So I assume if you get a bye in the first round, that counts as whatever you've already made that money to win to get out of the wild card round, right?
Yeah, buys count as wins.
Yeah.
I think like what 45% of the pool or something like that ends up going to the Super Bowl winner because it's like progressive.
That's
So,
usually typically you want to be somewhere in that 40 to 50% range to win the whole thing. So it's always going to be it's going to be heavily weighted towards the champion, which is, obviously makes it all the more interesting. I used to get in one in Brooklyn for the NCAA tournament. The first year I got in, I believe was 98 or 98. And the pot was $99,000 then. They're up in like the 1.5 million now in that same exact Calcutta.
The people that you do it with get progressively more wealthy over time,
Yeah,
because they're like continuing their careers and whatnot. So I love playing Calcuttas. I think it's a super fun way to bet. Like no vig. You're normally playing against. It's normally not the sharpest group of people. It's not like, I don't know, me and Mark.
Right. Well, what happens, I used to bring to that same Calcutta, I used to bring a laptop like 15 years ago to that thing, and there's nobody in there who's using a laptop. There's a huge advantage, like you said, because you're not playing with a vig. Now, most people are going to take like maybe a 5% cut of the pot. So there is a small vig.
Yeah, they donate like 5% to charity or something.
Yeah, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Right. But you can find yourself in a situation because, listen, sports betting, all of sports betting, and not just sports betting, whether you're investing in anything, certainly the stock market, it's all about you have to come up with a value. And then that value is hopefully different than whatever the market is. So when we are betting on sports, that you need to come up with some sort of a value on what you think the probability of such event happening is. And if you think in the probability you come up with is greater than whatever the market thinks it is, that's when you make a bet. So oftentimes you're making, like you took Tennessee, right? There's no way in hell you thought Tennessee was going to do anything, but you said you made the judgment call that for the price that they were going for and the return that I'm going to get, it is worth taking that risk. Now you took it and said, yeah, the chances are pretty good. I'm not going to win this bet, but it's worth making those bets over time because you felt like you're getting a better return than what the risk was that you had to put in.
Yeah, I remember. I think the first year I did it, we bought the Niners when they played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And I don't know if you remember this year, everyone was down on the Niners. Niners were projected to be like bottom, like 3 or 4 team. I got them for like $200 in a $150,000 pool. Like that's gonna pay well every time. That'll pay for all the Titans-esque bullshit that I want to do. Obviously, my strategy is because the way they do it in the rounds, so 32 teams are in the pot. You can bid on any team to start. They select 10 teams at the start, and then those bids are locked in. And then you can rebid on the next 22 teams, and then they'll draw 10 more, and then you can rebid on the last 12. So the last 12 always end up being like overpriced because it's people that didn't get into teams or didn't have like the amount of exposure they wanted. So, if you're the high bid in the first 10 are normally the best value. The way they do the betting.
Yeah, it is interesting. There's a lot of psychology when it comes to these type of auctions, for sure. And you will find there's going to be that portion of the Calcutta where you're just getting value after value. Like a lot of times now, the one that we do for the NCAA tournament, the one I do in Brooklyn, the way it used to be when I first got in was no one, like you said, people start getting more money and, the pot rises. But back then, the value was on the 1 seeds because you would get them at the price you were getting them for. They were worth it, but no one could afford the $10,000 that they were going for, in that pool back then. Now they're going for 150, 200,000. You've got, of course, pools of people joining up and playing together. And now you're seeing like that the 1 seed value hasn't been nearly as good. But again, I kind of want to hit on the topic of value, and Calcuttas are perfect for this. Just when, and I'm sorry that we're kind of going off on a tangent, but I like to hopefully, give a little insight into what pro sports bettors are doing. We play, you're playing this Calcutta. It's just one of a million different things that you're wagering on, and you're hoping to have some sort of an edge in every single thing, every wager that you make. And like it goes back to value. So what most people do, the NFL, you look at the games and you're like, or you look at props and you're like, his total. You go into it without even looking at what the total is. You're like, man, I've got a so-and-so Woody Marks this week. Like you haven't even looked at his props and you're like, man, he's in a great matchup. I'm just taking all his overs. Like no one ever takes unders because everyone in their mind's like, who are the players that I think are going to go off this week? And then they just go and bet the over regardless of what the line is, right? So I think it's a good lesson for everybody is to, even if you're not building computer models and you're not, getting that deep into it, start looking, come up with these numbers yourself. I mean, I'm pulling Woody Marks out, right? But come up with a number. What do you think his rushing total should be? Then look at the market. That's going to give you a way better, like, I don't go in with a bias because I go, okay, this is my number. Now let me see what the market thinks. And then if the market I think is overshooting, I'm going to be on the under. If the market is coming in way below what I think that number is, I'm going to be on the over. But I don't go into the bet. I don't open up DraftKings and say, what's my bias here? Let me go find that bet. I really like this pitcher to get. I love this pitcher today. What's his K prop? I'm going to take the over without actually knowing what the over is. So, all right. We went off on a little bit of a tangent, but hopefully you guys can pick up on a few things. We'll dive in. Look, one more note though on last night's game. I mean, a lot of things had to go right at the end of that game. At the end of that game for San Francisco, it was obviously an exciting game. I thought it was an absolutely poorly coached game, both sides. But McVay, I got to get this out there because he is one of the worst. I've been saying this for years. He is one of the worst in-game coaches in football. He's always near the top. I haven't looked at it the last couple of years, near the top and taking timeouts before the 2-minute warning, which to me is always a sign that's wasting timeouts early in games and early in the half. The second half is not that he did that last night, but it's a sign of a bad coach. And, it didn't really come back. It actually wound up helping him because they were able to get that field goal there. But he's going with time running down into the 2-minute warning. They're deep into or they're just crossing the 50 into the 49er territory with a chance to either with the chance to win the game. And he is running a play quick and say, like, you want to score there with no time on the clock. Now, it worked out that they fumble going into the end zone, and he needed all that time to kick the field. So it winds up bailing him out. It's kind of like the Bill Belichick not calling a timeout in the Super Bowl against Seattle and it working out. It was absolutely idiotic. By the way, he was in the same exact situation the following year against the Jets and called the timeout. So when you called it, I don't care what his excuse was that we thought that they were scrambling a little bit. Bullshit. That was a terrible call, and it bailed them out. So anyway, I had to get that out there this way. Now I'll feel better. First game, listen, we're going to the NFL is going to keep doing it to us. These 9:30, we got a lot of them this year. These 9:30 a.m. European games. They're trying to build the sport internationally. Can't grow it all that much than it is here in the United States, I guess. So we'll be going international. Minnesota played out there last week, at least in Ireland, and looked terrible in the beginning of that game. Made a comeback, had a shot to win it. They're getting 3.5. They're laying 3.5 here to the Browns. The total is 36.5, 35.5 with heavy juice to the over on DraftKings, and you're getting 4.5 with juice on the Brown side to the plus 4.5 over at DraftKings as well, minus 115. I'm getting this question a lot for Survivor, and I know this is how people are thinking about it for betting this game. Do you put any weight in the fact that Minnesota did not have to travel here? They've been here now for 2 weeks. Cleveland's going to obviously have to get on the plane there, head across the pond, and play this one maybe with a little less acclimated to the time difference. Is there any weight in that for you? And who do you like on this with this one? 3.5, 4.5 at DraftKings, and just an unbelievably low total, 35.5.
I think this is the lowest total we've seen on a game this year, 35.5. I don't remember any lower than this. It's kind of hard to get worse quarterback play, I assume. Like, I don't really have any faith in Dylan Gabriel making his first NFL start. I think it's kind of a tough spot overseas. I think his passing prop is like 175 or something like that. It should be a super ugly game. I don't love to lay points in ugly games like this, but I'll fade rookie quarterback making his first start here overseas. take the Vikings here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a tricky spot as well for this Cleveland team. Look, the travel, I think it's kind of baked in, right? So you have to take that into account. Now, whether you weight the travel more than the market does, that's up to you. This is another thing I'm going to get on. I talk with Mark a lot, obviously, about sports betting and whatnot. Get yourself into the habit of coming up with these numbers yourself. Usually it's like a quarterback change. I'll message Mark just because I want to know what he's thinking. I have a number in my head. I ask him a number just so I could see, are we in the same ballpark on any quarterback in the league? Like, quarterback goes down, or before the quarterback goes down, I'll message him. If I'm looking at a particular game, I'll say, what do you think this number is? How much is this quarterback worth here compared to relative to the backup? Like, it's a great exercise to have because that happens more often than not in the NFL. But this is another one, right? So when you're betting, it's all about figuring out all of these variables. And if you think that the market is overweighing the fact that Minnesota has been there for 2 weeks, you'd have to know what the baseline is. What would this line be if they were playing on a neutral site in the United States? So again, I'm just trying to get you guys, train on not just looking at the games and picking them, but some of the thinking that has to go on behind the scenes if you really want to get good at this. With that said, I'm in agreement with you here. I think this is a tough spot for the rookie quarterback to come in. This is just not a good offense. Look, obviously Flacco is, he's doing the best he can at the age that he is. I think having a little bit more mobile quarterback in there is certainly going to help. I think you saw that with Jackson Dart. Russell Wilson just not as mobile as he once was, and having a quarterback who can move a little bit in the pocket certainly helps when you have an offensive line that is not very good and not playing all that well. Both of these defenses have been phenomenal. This Browns defense, I think, might be the best defense in all of football. So that 35.5 is a tough number. I mean, that's a preseason number. Matter of fact, this preseason, we weren't even seeing 35.5 numbers because the totals were going so high. So I would lean here towards the over. I just think that's too low of a number. I'm gonna lean a little bit here towards the over. Maybe get some defensive scores and push this one over. And I'll agree with you. I'm going to take the Vikings. I'll lay the points to 3.5. All right, now we head over to the main slate for DFS, 1:00 games. Team that you just talked about. You've got them in your Calcutta. Indianapolis is hosting the Vegas Raiders. One of the larger lines we've got for the week. Touchdown favorite are the Colts at home. 47.5 over on DraftKings is the total. Colts a little bit of a surprise this year. I think the Raiders maybe a little more talented than perhaps their record has shown thus far. 7's a lot of points. You want to lay it, or are we taking the points here with the Raiders?
I think you take the points here. Touchdown seems like a lot to me for an aggressive defense. That I don't think it's as bad as the market thinks it is. I don't think it's the absolute best spot for Indy. I know. I think the way that they get this here, I'm not the biggest Daniel Jones believer. I'm not sure if I should be saying that. He's joined my country club here, so don't really need tons of Colts slander. But I think that they're going to try and make this a Jonathan Taylor type of game, and that's how they'd be successful. I mean, you saw Geno Smith had one of the worst games of his career last week, and it didn't matter just because they were able to run the ball and play some semblance of defense on a decent Bears offense. I think that game was a lot uglier than people thought. I think on the fast track in a dome, it doesn't really turn into that here. So I would probably lean the over as well. It's one of the highest totals of the week here at 47.5. But fast track here, I would lean the over. Geno have a bounce back game and the Raiders to cover.
Yeah, I think they got this line pretty close to where it should be on both sides here. So I do like what the Colts have done. If you look at the power rankings, I mean, right now they're ranked 4th on my power rankings, which I think it's high, and you got to take it with a grain of salt because it moves a lot in the first few weeks because we're just getting all the data in. And I kind of I don't do it the way everyone else does, but it's just showing you how well they have played, and certainly offensively they played phenomenal. They're really second only to Baltimore as far as offensive efficiency here this season. So really doing well on on offense. I think the Raiders have underperformed a bit. I do expect this team to get better as they go. 1-3 record right now. I agree with you. I think it's just a tad, excuse me, too many points. So I do like I like the Raiders in this one. I think the total's a little trickier. I think they nailed that number. I've got it at 48. So not too far off of where this line is right now. So I'm going to lean a little bit to the over, but I like the Raiders. I think is a little bit better side than necessarily the total in this one. I think it's too many points. I think we're going to start to see this Raiders team play a little bit better than maybe we've seen what their record is so far this year. All right, let's jump over to. We're going to head to the Meadowlands. Dallas Cowboys in a crazy game. That was another survivor implication game. If you had ties get knock you out, where there was a decent amount of people who took Green Bay last week in a 40-40 tie. Definitely entertaining night game for sure. So we've got Dallas on the road going to be favored by less than a field goal, 2.5 pretty much everywhere, and 47.5. The over's juiced a little bit on DraftKings. Two teams not very good. Dallas defense just looks, I mean, that's got to be the worst defense in football right now. This Jet team can't get out of their own way either. So what do we like here in a battle of two struggling teams?
This is a really tough one for me. I'd probably take the home dog here and lean to the Jets side. I don't think Fields has been that bad. I think after a depressing Monday night loss to the Dolphins here, if this team has any want to have Aaron Glenn as their coach, they'll come out fired up for this game because he's in a pretty bad spot here if they don't win this game. I mean, Micah Parsons is just such a loss to this defense, and you're really seeing it now. I know the Packers defense didn't play particularly well in that game or in the previous game even with them, but the Dallas splits without Parsons are kind of wild, and I expect that to continue. I would lean towards the over in the Jets. I just really want to bet against this Cowboys defense as much as I can. Breece Hall is probably going to be one of my highest owned players this weekend in DFS. So give me the Jets or give me the points here, and then give me the over. Not a huge lean on either.
Yeah, I'm gonna be on the opposite side here. I think on the game, I like Dallas. Yeah, I don't know if the Jets are going to be able to stop this Dallas offense. Now, we said the Dallas defense hasn't been able to stop anyone either, so I think the Jets are going to get their point. So I agree with you here on the over. I just think overall, the Dallas, I have more confidence in this Dallas offense. I got more confidence in Dak Prescott as a quarterback. But we'll see. Certainly from a fantasy standpoint, I think I think this will be a pretty good one for points. But sometimes the Jets, like, Fields looks good from a point standpoint, but he just doesn't look good as a quarterback necessarily on the field. So I think at some point here, might be a tight game. I think at some point the experience, I think you've got the better quarterback with Dallas. I think they win this game on the road. They'll be able to cover the 2.5, and I do agree on this game going over. But I'll tell you, I'm actually worried. What I'm worried about on this total is the fact that it's not higher. I would have expected this one to be lower. So when it looks too good to me, I get a little nervous. But this looks like an over all the way. So Dallas and over for me. All right, Houston heads to the Lamar Jackson-less Baltimore Ravens, and I do a lot of Survivor stuff. So it's always on my mind. This is kind of the thing. This is the logic in taking good teams early. From a lot of people who like to play that way, because you just never know what the injury situation is going to be. To think Baltimore would be an underdog here, and not that it's a big survivor play, but you just see how dramatically things change. Talk about, what do you think the value is of a Lamar Jackson? I mean, what would this line be with Lamar Jackson in the game? And then that'll figure out what you think the I'd have to go back and look what the look ahead.
It has to be the biggest difference in the NFL. Between starting quarterback and backup.
I think that's
what, like 8.5?
It's in that.
I would say.
It's about 9. Yeah, it's about close to 9, I think. Yeah. And you just don't see that all that often. I think what happens typically when quarterbacks, starting quarterbacks are out, is the market tends to overreact because most people don't want to play backup quarterbacks. I mean, you saw it last night, right? There was probably an overreaction. The line moved more than it probably should have with the difference between a Purdy and a Mac Jones. I think it's a different scenario here. The largest I remember, at least in the last 10 years, was when Aaron Rodgers was out with Green Bay, and that the first go around for Love. I believe it was when Love came in there for him, and they could not move that line enough. I think they started with like a 6-point differential in Rodgers being out, and it wound up being 9 or 10 by the time they figured out how much to move the line. So that's why I said, if you're better than this is where the market struggles, because backup quarterbacks are really tough to figure out. If you've got a really good view on a quarterback, you think backup quarterback's better than the market. No one typically knows who these backup quarterbacks are. That's where you could really make money in the NFL, because I think that's where sometimes these games fall short. So I think the interesting thing here is obviously Lamar is the engine to that offense. I think we're going to get an overreaction as well. I like to lean to the side of the backup quarterback coming in here. Baltimore, I know the defense looks bad. Houston's defense has looked phenomenal, so I do expect this game to be lower scoring, way more low scoring than we anticipated. I still don't like this Texan offense. I know they had a good week last week, but for the first half of that game, I mean, they let Tennessee sit around in that game. Tennessee misses a couple of field goals. That game was a lot tighter than the final score really dictated. I do think the 40.5, I think we'll get over that. I still think it's a little bit low of a number. I'm going to go with Baltimore here to win this game. Getting points, I'll take it at home, and give me the over 40.5. All right, two of the worst teams in the league here battling it out. Giants at New Orleans. The Saints, 1.5-point favorite. I think a lot of people here love the Giants this week. They saw them beat the Chargers. Jackson Dart era has started. There's a lot of hype. It's the Giants. It's New York. There's always going to be a huge reaction to anything that happens here, especially at that quarterback position. So a lot of excitement going on right now for Giant fans, thinking maybe they've got the franchise quarterback. Highest total is over on DraftKings, though, at that 42.5. 1.5, 2, depends on the book that you're looking at, but -1.5 with the -105 juice if you like New Orleans at DraftKings. Who do we like in this tight matchup of terrible teams?
I think the Saints had a really good showing last week against Buffalo. I was pretty impressed overall by what they're doing. Give me the home dog, or give me the home favorite here. I will take the Saints -1.5. It's still a guy making his second NFL start. It is Spencer Rattler. I expect it to be a pretty ugly game. I would lean under the 41.5 total here, and with the Saints, and lay the points with the Saints. You saw, not saying Jackson Dart's similar to Josh Allen, but you saw the Saints play great defense against Josh Allen last week, and Jackson Dart, another quarterback in that vein who's going to look to run a lot. His rushing prop is 36.5. It was kind of a big 7.5 attempts. Kind of a big part of his game last week. I'm not sure people expected him to run that much, but he definitely showed that he's going to, and I think the Saints can defend that pretty well. Rattler seems to be settling down a bit to me. Playing in Buffalo is one of the toughest spots in the league, obviously, and I was pretty impressed by the Saints last week. So I will take them this week against the Giants here, in what I expect to be not like a one-sided betting affair, but I think people are definitely on the Giants here. I haven't really looked at betting splits and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. Nobody's betting the Saints this week, and it's probably, I guess it's interesting. Both of us are going to like them. I like the Saints as well in this one. I agree with you. I just think the Saints have surprised me. I know the record's not good. They've surprised me. Outside of that Seattle game, they've really competed in every one of the games that they play. They've been a heavy underdog in each of these games. This is this is the weakest team that they faced so far this season. I think we get we'll get an inspired performance here. They've really fought hard in, like I said, just about every one of these games that they're in. I think the Giants, coming off such an impressive win, big home dog, new quarterback, all the hype. I love fading teams in situations like this. The market loves the Giants. Give me the Saints. I think the total is a little bit trickier in this one. I would lean towards the over the 42, but don't have a strong conviction on it. But I do like the Saints here laying just 1.5 at home. All right, Broncos at Philly should be a pretty good matchup here. The Eagles are going to be laying just over a field goal, 3.5. You're laying -115 at DraftKings if you like the favorite. Broncos and Philly total over the 43.5 is juiced over at DraftKings. Philly has not looked great statistically, and this has been a pattern with Philly over the last few years. Last year, actually, it all matched up, and they were right at the top of my rankings. And it's just strictly statistics, where they were they weren't the number one team, but they were right near the top. So not a shock that they were able to win a Super Bowl. The year before, they kind of looked statistically like they looked this year. They looked like the team from 2 years ago that had a really good record and then bowed out early in the playoffs. It's only 4 weeks, but that's kind of how it's playing out so far. We'll see now this week if they can get the passing game going a little bit more. I know they picked it up last week. We'll see if A.J. Brown can be satisfied with the amount of targets that he gets. They're in the number one team right now, the number one stack as far as probability on my stack probability sheet to get 60-plus points that we look at for DFS. But what do you like here and what should be a pretty good game? Eagles, Broncos, 3.5 and 43.5.
Just for exercise here, I'd probably say Hurts is worth, 5-6 points on the spread to who's their backup now? A guy that looked good in the preseason. Actually, I'm not even sure if he's hurt. But Tanner McKee, I'm not sure if it was Tanner McKee, I'd probably say 5.5. Philly, I think, is kind of a system offense. And to tie that back into what we're talking about here is, Philly might not look like the best in the world statistically, but they always find a way in these dogfight games with the tush push. They play very good situational football, and that's kind of hard to, account for because obviously models won't really put a lot of stock into that. But, the ability to gain a yard whenever you need it is pretty valuable. That said, I probably like them at home here. To me, this is one of the toughest games of the week here. What's your lean on it? I would probably just tail you for this one. If I had to pick, I'd take the Eagles and the under. But Bo Nix has been pretty impressive to me, and I think that Sean Payton's kind of figuring that offense out a little bit with their playmakers with Sutton, Franklin, and Mims here. They're getting RJ Harvey involved more now at the running back spot. I think him and Dobbins are a pretty good pairing. This is a Broncos team I kind of want to buy on for the rest of the season, but it's not. I don't really know if this is the spot to do it. It's kind of the opposite of last game for me. It's not really a Giants team. It's a Giants team that I don't mind buying on for the rest of the season. I just think it's not the spot to do it.
Yeah. I don't know. I like Denver. I agree with what you're saying as far as Denver is a team I want to buy here for the rest of the season, but I'm okay with doing it this week. Now, listen, everything you said is spot on. This Philly team will burn you because statistically, as I mentioned, they don't always look like the best team, but because they do those things, getting those first downs on 3rd and short, 4th and short, it really it changes what the how the statistics kind of play out. So when we're looking at gaining yards and your yardage differential and all those things, if you're capable of making a lot of 4th downs and one, I mean that's the whole point of the analytics. That's the whole reason teams go for 4th downs more than they ever did 20 years ago, is because if you are successful at it, like Philly is capable of doing, of course, there's a huge advantage, and then that skews what the statistics show. But I think these teams are a little bit closer than we think. I like this Denver team. I think they show up here. Tough environment, no doubt. We're getting the 3.5, which I like. Getting that extra hook here is the key for me. So I do like Denver to compete in this game, if not win this game outright. And so I will take I'll take the Broncos plus the points. As far as the total goes, 43.5. I would lean this one towards the over as well. I think that's I don't particularly I don't love I'm not afraid necessarily of the either one of these. I know the Philly defense has played well. They're in the top half of defenses in the league. I think Bo Nix will be able to put points up on the board. I think both of these teams get this game into the 20s, and that's going to get us to the over. So I think the Broncos keep it tight, if not win outright, and we get this game to the over. All right, a couple of again, we got some bad matchups here on this slate. I'll say this: Miami at Carolina. I mean, Miami favored on the road is unusual at this point. I mean, kind of like Dallas being favored on the road, but Miami even worse. Favored on the road at Carolina, 1.5 points. You got to lay 115 over at DraftKings if you want to get the 1.5 over 40 or over 45.5, and you only have to lay 102 on DraftKings if you like the over on that one. Miami at Carolina, a couple of bad teams. What do we like here in this one, Bryce?
Give me the Dolphins here. I think Carolina's a pretty dead team. Miami's not quite dead yet, as they showed in their win over the Jets. Obviously losing Tyreek hurt. I don't really think that Tyreek is the player that he once was. He just gets schemed a lot in that offense. I think that Malik Washington and Jalen Waddle and especially Achane can carry the load here. Kind of a surprising total to me. I would have expected this game to be a bit lower total-wise, but I guess it is. Two kind of ugly defenses. Yeah, I would lean Dolphins in under here. I just don't have a lot of faith in this Carolina offense right now outside of McMillan. Bryce Young really showed some progression last year, and he has looked absolutely awful to start this year. I don't think that offensive line is any good. And yeah, not super ugly game. We have some really bad matchups with decent totals here. Going back to like Jets Cowboys type of deal. But that's what you get in the NFL because you have 10 to 15 decent quarterbacks, and then everyone else who's not that produces some really bad football in general.
Yeah, typically what you have is like maybe 3 or 4 really, really good teams. You got 3 or 4 really bad teams, and then everyone else is really tight, which is what makes the NFL fun because those teams in the middle, the difference between 7 wins and 10 wins is not all that great. The ball bounces a certain way. You get lucky that year, and that's why you see so much turnover in playoff teams, right? The top teams are there, the Kansas City, the Buffalo, Baltimore. They're going to be there more often than not, but, Philly. But you're going to get a big turnover with a lot of these other teams. So it's what makes the NFL fun. I think, look, I had high hopes here coming into the year for Carolina like you did. I think, we saw some good signs there with Bryce Young at the end of the year. The team started to come along. I think that game that they had against Atlanta was as much about Atlanta than it really was Carolina or that defense. I agree with you. You have to like what you saw out of Darren Waller in that game last week. That could be maybe the weapon that they need on Miami to really get this offense going. I think they're going to I agree with you here. I like Miami to take care of Carolina. I think it's the better team. They have not necessarily shown that so far this year, but I think I've got a lot more confidence in this Miami team with the athletes that they have, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I'm just not a fan of Bryce Young. I agree with you. I think McMillan's just a phenomenal talent, but that's about all that they have going for him right now offensively. So I do like Miami to cover this game. Total, I'm not feeling great about. I would lean towards the under just because I just do not like Carolina's offense. I don't think they're going to score all that much in this game, but feel much better about laying the 1.5 here with Miami. All right. Speaking of bad teams, the team we are this might be the team everyone wants to pick on all season long for Survivor pools, and this will be a heavy week against them again with the Cardinals hosting the Titans. 7.5 point line, 41.5, another very low total. A Titans team that, man, they look bad. They faced a Houston team last week that was struggling to score. They let them put 26 up on them. They didn't score themselves. This was they just have not looked all that strong at all this year. Arizona has played really the weakest schedule, I think, by far in the NFL. They had the one game there against Seattle, but other than that, pretty easy schedule. And that easy schedule ends for them after this week. So they definitely need to get this win and keep themselves in the hunt, because they have a really tough schedule the rest of the way. So I don't know how good Arizona is going to wind up being at the end of the day here. Laying 7.5, it's a big number at home, weak team. Tennessee 41.5 minus 120 is the total at that's to the over on DraftKings. What do you like here? You laying the points? It's a lot, 7.5.
I would lay the points. I just don't know if there's any type of line that can get me to bet on Tennessee at this point. I think I'd probably need double-digit points to bet on Tennessee here. I don't really like this Arizona team that much. And it's a pretty interesting DFS spot too, just because the Arizona running backs are so cheap across the industry. Going to be kind of a big sticking point in lineups this week, I think. Probably going to want to be a little bit underweight in DFS here, but I would take the 7.5. I just have no faith in this Tennessee offense. Arizona gets to play against an absolutely awful team. I'm not sure who watched that Texans-Titans game last week, but Brian Callahan just seems like he should, just quit at this point. He seems to be sure that he's fired. It seems like a dead team to me. And I don't really think you can do a great evaluation of Cam Ward. I mean, look who they're putting around him. You got Calvin Ridley, Tony Pollard. You just got these dusty veterans without pretty much any talent around them. It's just not a spot I want to be in at all for Tennessee. Give me Arizona in the under, fading Tennessee's offense here.
Yeah, I'm going to go the opposite side here, and I hate doing it. And I get stuck. This happens to me every year. I'm always going to have a team that I'm on is going to struggle, and everyone's like, "How the hell do you bet that crappy team?" I'm going to get back to it because I think I'm not a fan of this Arizona team. I think this is a great spot in Survivor. I think you have to take them. This is the last opportunity you're going to have to take them if you have not taken them yet. But I think it's too many points for a team that I don't respect this team. I still have not seen this offense perform at a level that they really should. They are banged up again. I don't know how much that's going to kill them here, but the running back situation there is not great for Arizona. So now we're getting down to like a third string back. The offense has been one of the worst offenses in football thus far this year. Now Tennessee's been worse, obviously, and they haven't been all that great defensively. I think this game just stays low scoring and tight. If it's going to be low scoring, I don't like to give up a touchdown here in a game that I think stays in the 30s. I think it's just too many points in a low scoring game. So I'll take I'm going to take the Titans plus the 7.5. Give me the under 41.5 as well. All right. Seattle is home. Tampa, one of the longest trips you'll make in the NFL. Tampa all the way to Seattle. They get a 3.5 point spread here. Seattle looking perhaps better than a lot of people anticipated in a really tough division with that. We saw the game last night. That's going to be a division that could potentially see three teams here make the playoffs. Seattle's laying the 3.5, 44.5 over at DraftKings minus 112 to the over in this game. A couple of really good teams. What do you like? Seattle and Tampa.
Another super interesting game for DFS with Bucky Irving being ruled out. I kind of like Seattle here, given the 4. I think this Tampa Bay offense is kind of banged up right now. You've seen Baker excel in spots like this before, but I think it's pretty tough going into Seattle here. Hard place to play. I just kind of lean towards the home team here. Don't love the side or the total here. I'd feel much better, honestly, for like a Saints bet here than Seattle, but I'll take the home favorite here, minus 4. And I don't have a huge lean on the total. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you here on the side. I like the Seattle as well to cover this one. I think Tampa, you're correct, a bit banged up on that offense. I think the Seattle team is a bit underrated. I think this is. I mean, I didn't expect them to be as good as I've seen so far this season from them. I think this team is still kind of flying under the radar, and I think this will be a big game for them to kind of, show that maybe they're better than most people think against a Tampa team that I do think is respected. I think they covered. Like you said, this is a tough, definitely a tough building to go into and win. 3.5. Hate laying the hook. You can, obviously you can take an alt line here. I don't necessarily like paying the juice. If you look over on FanDuel, it's 14 cents more to get it at 3, which is probably worth it off the 3.5. Again, it's close. But 3.5 minus 110 if you like it on DraftKings. I'll take Seattle reluctantly laying the hook. The total, I agree with you. I think it's a tricky total. I would lean actually towards the under, but don't have a strong conviction on that. But Seattle will be my side on that one. All right, we go on to the 425 games. There's a couple of them. The Commanders are going to head out to LA cross country facing the Chargers. Chargers coming off that bad loss at the Giants. DraftKings has this at 2.5. If you like the Chargers, you're going to have to lay 120 on that one. You can get some other books at the 3 and lay a lot less juice if you like LA. Total 46.5 over on DraftKings. Looks like one of the lower totals out there. 47 at some other books. What do you like here with the Chargers? Can they come back off that really bad loss against the Giants and cover this one?
Yeah, I like the Chargers in this spot. I've always been of the mind that the Chargers are a good team and that Justin Herbert is a good quarterback, and that's kind of been my stance for a while now. I know some people are trying to get off that a bit. I like Hampton at running back. I think they're using their weapons on offense more. Quentin Johnson finally looks like an NFL player. I think this Washington secondary is pretty bad in general. I like Herbert a good amount in all formats, and I like the over here. Yeah, I think with Jaden back, he's practicing in full this week. I would expect him to not have any hindrance. To me, it seemed like an injury that, like, if it was like late in the season, like super important games, he would try and play through. So I don't expect any like, I don't know, friction. Like you saw Purdy come back too early last week, and he looked pretty bad against the Jags. I don't really expect that to be like the Jaden situation this week. So I like the Chargers and the over. Steve at the airport, my guy, he has to travel before the Cubs game. He's probably flying out to who are they playing in this next round?
No, he's going out to Vegas. Going out.
Oh yeah, Steve's going to Vegas. With our good friend Mark. Yeah, I think a lot of people were in that spot for Survivor this week. I do the Survivor video. I think Steve actually probably watched it. I didn't update yesterday, just to let people know, because a lot of people who watch that Survivor, the Survivor show, aren't really sports bettors. They don't really follow the betting markets, and all I do for Survivor is really just follow the betting markets, trying to figure out the probabilities. I don't try to handicap it. If you do, God bless you. But the markets are going to tell you the Rams win that game 80% of the time. I mean, that's just the way it is. But guess what? 20% of the time, they're going to lose that game. Last night, everything falls perfectly at the end of that game. Anything that could have gone wrong for the Rams did, and that's just the way it works. But yeah, it's when you do videos like that, and I never really say, take the Rams. I kind of give everyone all of the data, and you make that choice yourself, and it's going to be different for different people and different type of pools that you're in. But oh man, when you post a video updating to let everyone know that the Rams are a bigger favorite than they were the day before, and then they lose, the vitriol has been phenomenal. So you gotta love the internet. It's been great, Steve. It sucks. We had a couple of losses in the DK Survivor. I'm in a pool where I had 24 entries left, and I had 4 of them on the Rams last night, which was slightly below the market. It was about 20% of the market was on the Rams. But, yeah, I was about to see what market was on the Rams, because Yeah, I don't know. 20% seems about right to me. Seems like
what it was in my pool.
pretty
Yeah.
efficient
Yeah.
outcome, or not outcome, choices.
And they were looking at like probably 4 or 5%, before that line.
yeah.
So it was a big jump. Arizona just has, I mentioned it earlier, they just have such a weak schedule from now on. This will be your last chance to take them. So they were still my favorite pick, and I took them with the majority of my picks, but I did move a couple onto the Rams just because of that line move, and obviously it didn't pay off, but that's Survivor. That's they're not exactly easy to win. But yeah, in this one, we're on with the Chargers. I think the Chargers are a better team than a lot of people may think. I love taking what I think is a good team coming off of a really bad loss. I think it's a good spot to take them. I think you get the added bonus here of Daniels coming back, which I think kind of inflates the market here on Washington as well. So I think we're getting a really good spot here for the Chargers, who I think are the better team. I would lay the 3. I like laying the 3 here with some of the lesser juice at some of these other books. As opposed to laying the 2.5. I feel pretty good about them being able to cover the 3. If you want to take the 2.5 at -120 over on DraftKings, by all means. But I like these 3s that are out there. You can find like some 3s at -105. I like those a little bit more. 46.5 on the total. I do think there's going to be points in this game. I like what the Chargers are doing here. You've got a really good quarterback, and they're showing it. The weapons. I mean, they're basically now they've got potentially the best wide receiver core in the NFL. You've got 3 wide receivers there, all of which it's making it really tough in DFS. If you look at the stack probability sheet that I post on our for the NFL content stuff, I don't know if they're like 5th, 6th, 7th, like they're right in a row. They're all about the same probability of being able to get that 60 with Herbert and each one of those pass catchers. So it makes it tough for us in DFS. I think it also makes it tough to cover. I like this. I like this Charger offense. I think they'll be fine. I think they bounce back strong this week and cover that number. I think it also goes over 46.5. I like that number on DraftKings. Only have to pay 2 cents more to get that half point. All right, Cincinnati hosting the Lions. Largest line of the week, and it's a road favorite. Another thing I get constantly in Survivor is don't take road teams, which is utterly ridiculous because if you look at the statistics, I just ran it quick, like from favorites on the road between 6 and 8 points over the last 22 seasons have won at a slightly higher clip, 76% to 73%, than home favorites of 6 to 8. Now here we've got a 10.5 point favorite in Detroit. If you want those 10.5 points over at DraftKings, you can pay 112 on the juice. High total here, 49.5. This Bengal defense has not been good. You could score on the Lions as well. Obviously, this Lion offense is strong. What do we like here? Can we lay this many points on the road? It's a lot of points.
God, I'm gonna get berated for this when they get absolutely blown out of the building, but I'd take the 10.5 and give me the Bengals. This is a hold your nose type of play. Listen, I don't think the Bengals are like an absolutely dead team. I expect them to put up some fight at home. The one saving grace for the Lions here is that, I just think Dan Campbell loves to run up the score. He's normally more successful in doing it at home than on the road. But I don't know, 10.5's a lot. I'd feel much more comfortable with the Lions at, say, 8.5. I don't know. The Bengals have just looked so bad in primetime spots this year, without Burrow, that I think sentiment is about as low as you can get on an okay football team. So give me the Bengals, hold your nose special, plus 10.5. Total, I mean, to me, this seems like a lot of points. I know it's 2 defenses that we're not super interested in, especially the Bengals, but I would lean towards the under here as well, and kind of fade the Lions offense in what I perceive to be a tougher spot than most do.
I'm going to agree with you on the game here. I'm taking, and I like it a lot more than it sounds like you do, even though I'm on the same side. I like the Bengals here, plus the points, plus the 10.5.
I think it's a good pick. It's just an ugly click.
I don't know if I've ever mentioned on the show. I've said it a lot of times on shows before. You know, when I worked on Wall Street and trading, my old boss used to say, you know, sometimes the most difficult trade to make is the best trade. And I find that in sports betting as well. Like, you know, that one that's really tough to click to click the button on, those tend to be some of the better ones, right? Because you know in your gut, this is the right side, but man, it feels ugly playing it. I think it's the right play here as well. 10.5 points at home. I think it's an overreaction. This Cincinnati team has played. I think they're gonna. I think you're gonna see a much better offense. You know, Browning, I don't think is nearly as bad a quarterback. Excuse me, as he's shown. I think you'll see. You know, look at what he did in 2023. Not terrible. I think he's going to get closer to those numbers from here on in. This Detroit defense doesn't necessarily scare me. I think we're going to start seeing the Cincinnati team play better. I think at home, they keep this game a lot closer than that 10.5 number. I mean, I don't expect Detroit to necessarily lose the game, but I think this game plays tight. And, you know, the total in this one, I would agree with you. I think it's a little high, right? So if you do like the under, it's tough to not like the dog if you like an under in a game with 10.5. Now, it is a high total, so it doesn't come into play nearly as much as some of these lower totals with a high spread. But I'll take this game to go under as well. But I do think we'll see a better Cincinnati Bengal offense than we have seen so far without Joe Burrow. All right,
national TV in Denver. In Denver is kind of the hardest spot for Browning. It should be much.
And that Viking. What about the Viking? I mean, that Viking defense is as good as any defense in football. Right. Yeah. I mean, you see what that total is this week. The two best defenses maybe going at each other this week, and it's a 35.5 total. So I think this is you know, maybe a better overall team in the Lions, but I think as an offense, I think the Bengals have to be happy that they are not facing one of the top defenses here, and they'll be able to move the ball a bit. I think they'll put some points up and enough points to really keep this game within the 10.5. All right, let's go to we got primetime games and. Another big spread, more than a touchdown. You've got the Bills, Josh Allen, hosting the Patriots, divisional matchup. 8.5 is the highest number I'm seeing out there, and you can get that one minus 105 if you want to lay 8.5 with Buffalo at DraftKings. 49.5 is the total, minus 115 to the over on DK as well. Bills, obviously one of the best teams in football, this New England team. I don't know. You know, 2-2. We've seen some good. We've seen some bad from them. A lot of people really high on this team. We were not coming into the season, but others were. I thought their number of minus 140 just to miss the playoffs. I thought that was an easy bet. We'll see. They obviously in a tough situation this week, so we're looking pretty good on that bet early on. What do you like here? You're going to lay 8.5 with the Bills at home in a primetime game. Tough place to play. That place is going to be, you know, those primetime games there. They'll be well liquored up, throwing themselves through flaming tables or whatever they do over there in the parking lot. Everyone will be charged up for that one. What do you like here? Laying the points, or we're going to take them again?
I'd probably I'll take the points here with the Pats. Once again, kind of an ugly click. But, you know, you saw Buffalo struggle at home against the Saints last week. I could see it kind of being an uglier football game akin to that. I'm kind of a Drake May buyer at this point. I think that, you know, he's been kind of underrated by the market for a decent amount of time now. And I think you've actually seen the DFS community keep up with him a little bit better than the sports betting market here. But this is more of a buy on Drake May than a sell on Buffalo. I know Buffalo wants to pound them in prime time, but I'll take the points here. And yeah, I struggle with this total as well. I normally lean towards you for the totals. What do you like in this spot?
Yeah, I think this one, as far as the side goes, I don't feel all that great about it. Laying the points, I'll feel a little bit better about the over. I like the over in this game. I agree with you. I think Drake May is improving. I think this defense for Buffalo doesn't necessarily scare me. I think we'll see points. I think you're going to see a lot of points in this one. I don't know if Buffalo just outscores them and and outscores that big number, gets them by 10 plus points, wins this one by double digits. But I think the actual bet is to take the over New England on the team total. That's the bet I probably like the most. I think so. We're looking at what 24 ahead, like 20. What is it? 20 is the team total for this one. Yeah, that makes right. So 20, yeah. So it should be right around 20 and a half. I like that. I think they get themselves into the 20s. I think 3 touchdowns for them will happen. I think they get to at least 24. So I like that as probably my best bet on this game. But if we're just going to talk the sides and total overall, I do like this game to go over. I'm just not 100% sure we're going to on the side. I mean, if I had to, I'll take New England here because I do think they're going to put the points up, but I feel a little bit better about the total and that New England over their team total. All right. We'll go to Monday night, the last one. Jacksonville hosting Kansas City. Kansas City played that game last week. I mean, 2 teams that we're looking at, 2 of the better teams. So we thought or think and still may think. In football, we're going into that game both 1-2. They come out on top against Baltimore, and now they get to face a Jacksonville team on the road. Monday Night Football. Jacksonville's going to be getting points at home, 3.5, 45.5 on the total. But that was the best Kansas City's offense has looked this year, but they got to play against one of the weakest defenses in football. But that defense for Kansas City is strong. They were able to hold down that really high-powered Baltimore offense. That's really what's keeping them in these games. That's what's got them to the Super Bowl really last year. They didn't play all that great offensively. With Worthy back here, I think that does give that offense a bit of a boost. I think it certainly didn't hurt them last week. Jacksonville, you never know. I'd never know what to expect here with the Jaguars. I think this offense has played better maybe than anticipated. A lot of people have been down on Trevor Lawrence from the get-go, certainly in the fantasy world, that's for sure. But he gets 3.5 points against a really strong defense at home. Is it too much? Are they overreacting to Kansas City's big win last week? 45.5 is the total. What do you like in this last one on the slate?
The Chiefs have been kind of a puzzling team to me this year. But I don't know. I hate betting against Mahomes. I think the Jags had a great win against San Francisco. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think Purdy was right for that game, and I think that was kind of one of the reasons why they won. So, give me the Chiefs here on the road -3.5. I hate laying that hook, but I don't really pay extra dues unless I absolutely have to. Give me the Chiefs here. -3.5. I do think this can be an uglier football game, though. So I do like the under 45.5 as well.
Yeah, I like Mahomes against teams that are over 500 to really, obviously the better teams in the league. Has been pretty solid in his career. You're getting, I think he's against the spread. You've returned 7%, something like that, ROI on your money on taking Mahomes in those spots. I do like him here as well against this Jaguar team. I think this defense for the Chiefs is what really gets it done. So I think they're going to be able to hold down a Trevor Lawrence. I'm not a huge Trevor Lawrence fan. I think they hold this offense down. I like this game to go under this week. I still am not hugely on this offense for Kansas City. I just think last week was more the fact that they got to play such a weak defense in Baltimore. I think the game stays low scoring. I think both of these teams will struggle a bit offensively. And Kansas City, though, wins it. I think Mahomes over Lawrence. I'll take the better quarterback here. Give me Kansas City. This has historically been a good spot for Mahomes, so I'll ride that as well. All right. That is all the games for Week 5 in the NFL. Bryce, any parting words for us?
What's your favorite bet of the week? You had to choose one right now from the show.
Oh man,
Some show bet. I think we both liked. We were on a decent amount of the same sides here. I think we both like the Chargers. I think we both like the Chargers.
I do like the Chargers quite a bit. The Bengals the Bengals are my best bet of the week.
Well,
so
we were both on that side as well.
Yeah,
all right.
I like Bengals plus the 10.5. I think that would be my favorite bet. For me, definitely one that I will actually be betting. Obviously, we don't play each and every one of these games, but we give you our opinion on all of them. But the ones that I am going to bet, you'll know when I tell I'm a little firmer on those games. But yeah, the Bengals will be one of my bets here, and I want to get that now at the 10.5 before it gets down to 10. So if you do want to tail that one out, I would suggest playing it now. So yes, that would be my best bet. All right, that actually, you know what we should do? We got to do the pick six. We haven't done that yet, so hopefully we don't lose a few people. Let me bring up, if you want to bring up your pick six there, and I'll look as well on my side. Let's give some props here that we like for a DraftKings pick six. See if we can't hit something for every one of you out there.
All right, here we go. Pick six.
I'm going to give you one right off the bat. Right. Okay. So because I like the Bengals in that game, and it's kind of a situation like you saw last night, right? If the Bengals are going to hang in that game like San Francisco, who got out to the early lead, you're going to get a ton of passing from the team that's winning. So it's a dangerous bet. Because if they do blow them out, they'll hand the ball off a lot. But I'm going to go with Jared Goff completions, 21.5. I expect that game. I think the Bengals are going to be able to put points on the board. I think they're going to continue to have to throw the ball. And I'll take the over 21.5 with Goff for his completions.
Look at that. You get better on the.
Is that one of the better ones? Okay.
Choose the other one. Well, I'm saying you get the 0.9 on this one when you don't have the less market in there.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting to me. I don't think I've seen that on pick six before, akin to like a player prop type of deal. All right. We like Jared Goff to continue throwing here. I don't mind some correlation here. I think Jamar Chase has a good game here. 64.5 to me is way too low for a guy of his caliber that, Brownie's going to look to throw to him every time he can. I think that'll be the game plan here. In a trail script as well. Like, even though we do like the Bengals, I still expect them to be playing from behind as 10.5 point dogs. Give us a little correlation here and shoot this game out, or just not necessarily a shootout, but a little more passing volume than the market might expect here. I like the 64.5.
I like that. Yeah, kind of definitely ties into what we were looking at. Let's go with one where I like the over in this game. That was the primetime game, Buffalo, New England. Give me the passing yards for Josh Allen. Give me that to the over. 222.5.
Josh Allen, 222.5. I kind of like that. I think it's kind of crazy that Drake May's a little over him, but that kind of shows the team that Buffalo is now. They're kind of a running team, but if we like these games to shoot out here, the yards does look pretty appealing to me. What other side did we like here? Give me some Herbert over. That's kind of high. That's kind of a high passing total for him. I don't mind Jaden Daniels, 211.5. I think that even with his weapons limited, I think the game, they don't really have a great running game here. He is the best part of their running game. What's his total with do they have rushing and passing for him? 44.5 kind of high to me. Give me Jaden Daniels over the passing, 211.5.
Okay. What do we got? How many we got in there? 4 in there. All right. So last 2 for us. I'm going to take. Give me let's go with the other primetime game here. Patrick Mahomes, his pass attempts. I'm going to take that to the under.
Mahomes pass attempts under. All right, how do I get off this game?
I like the defenses. Like I said, I think
not bad total.
I do like Kansas City in that game. I think they get out to a lead. And I think that we'll see.
I'm not sure if they have Mahomes up yet for the Monday night game. I think it's just the 1 day new picks
Oh,
available.
I have it in one of the things I was looking
You
at.
You have it in yours. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
We have any other picks we like here?
Yeah. Let me look.
I can.
Let me look. We'll get rid of that game, and let's see what else we got here.
I can hop in here.
How about this one in a game that I think we both. It was one that we didn't necessarily want to bet, that Tennessee game. But we both kind of like that dog side. If they're going to stay in the game, and they should be down in this game anyway, Cam Ward, let's take the over on his passing yardage. That's not one that
177.5.
Yeah.
That is one ugly number here.
It's a terrible number. He has not looked great. I'll give you that. But I don't, I'm not too concerned here against Arizona in a game. I think they're going to be able to keep the game close. And I think he's going to have to. He's going to be throwing the ball in that one. It's a low number. I mean, it's not going to take much. We get one big play, we're going to get that one to the over.
Yeah. I'm going to hit a Sunday morning sweat here. Minnesota at Cleveland. Give me Jordan Mason under 66.5 yards. In what I expect to be a pretty ugly game. He can get there passing or receiving as well. But I think there's multiple outs to Jordan Mason hitting this under here. Get you a nice Sunday morning sweat.
That Cleveland defense against the run. I mean, it's just been.
It's so elite. I think that I don't know. The number seems high to me. Like we had talked about, like just kind of putting in your head what you expected it to be. I expected it to be 54.5 type of deal. To me, at least. I think it's a pretty tough spot for him.
I agree.
So, yeah. I'll put this in here for $100. I got to log in and whatnot. I will do that off air. $100 to win a minimum of $2,500. Some overs here. Jared Goff over 21.5 completions. Jamar Chase over 64.5 receiving yards. Josh Allen over 222.5 passing. Jane Daniels over 211.5 passing. Cam Ward over 177.5 passing. And Jordan Mason under 66.5 rushing yards. I'm not going to add the 7th pick for a 40x multiplier. I'm happy with my 25. Give me the pick 6 and run. Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure to like and subscribe on the channel. It really helps us out with our algorithms and whatnot. Give us a shout out on Twitter. I'm always down to talk about some games. If you guys had any further questions from the show and whatnot, I have a long plane ride to Italy upcoming, so I will likely be up and tweeting through it, watching some college football tomorrow. Best of luck out there, whether you're betting, playing DFS, whatever you're doing. For Stats and I, we will see you later.